3 years ago, Brawl Stars introduced the idea of the Brawl Pass, and since then, there have been 19 seasons or 18 full seasons, and I made a poll asking you to vote on your least favorite one. We ended up getting over 1,200 votes, and here is where each season landed. First up, with just 12 votes, we have Season 7, Jurassic Splash. Now, the season itself came with a pretty sweet Carl skin, and it also introduced us to Buzz, the brawler who was released so beautifully balanced, it took him over 14 months to get his first balance change. And it was just a little HP buff. The season also held the release of Griff and the Bad Randoms skin set, which also brought us the Bad Randoms music that you can find on YouTube and even Spotify. This season took place during the summer of 2021, and it was overall a great time for Brawl Stars. Up next, with just 14 votes, we have Season 10, Year of the Tiger. This season brought a beautiful looking pixelated environment, as well as perhaps one of the most beloved and popular chromatics ever released. Fang was introduced as a kicking dude who seems to enjoy eating while he fights people. Either way, Fang quickly became one of the most popular chromatics in the game. I mean, seriously, next time you start a game, see if anyone has the sneaker artist title. There were no other brawlers released throughout this season. However, this season and all following seasons now had daily quests awarding 200 points instead of 100 upon each completion. Up next, with just 20 votes, we have the Stunt Show season. Now, I personally wasn't a big fan of this season, but it did bring us another Carl skin as well as the brawler Janet, and of course her Valkyrie Janet skin. Janet was released a little bit broken. Her super at the time was easier to charge, so she spent a lot more time flying, and she was able to use the drop the base gadget while flying. And believe it or not, Janet was actually never buffed. She has only been nerfed since her release. She's still boring to play, but very loved by the community. Okay, I'm done. Aside from the Brawl Pass itself, the Stunt Show season also brought Sprays into the game, as well as Bonnie, who would finish up the Stunt Show trio. Up next with 23 votes, we have Season 2, The Summer of Monsters. Now, I was actually in the middle of quitting the game during this season, so I never actually played it, but Season 2 introduced us all to Surge, as well as Mecha Paladin Surge, and of course, Super Ranger Brock as the Tier 1 skin. Anyways, Surge was odd. His super was straight up and down, and it stayed like that for a while, but his attacks also split if they hit nothing. That meant Stage 4 Surge was like an off-brand spike. Also, I still have not forgotten the gadget Surge had when he was released. This Brawl Pass, as well as all following Brawl Passes, now have 70 tiers to collect rewards from. Season 2 also brought us Super City Rampage, a game mode that I literally had to cheat to win on. Those of you who missed it, it was basically a weekend game mode where a giant dinosaur just sat there eating a city while you had to take it out, like similar but not similar to boss fight. And our next season with just 25 votes is Season 6, The Gold Arm Gang. This season brought us Arthur Morgan Colt, the Chromatic Brawler Belle, and what I think is the best Tier 70 skin to ever exist. Belle was introduced a bit more on the weaker side, but nothing will stop her super from being incredibly fun to use. And a bit after her release, the grounded star power made her super even more fun to use. I'm kidding, I know you don't use that. She may have had my favorite ever Tier 70 skin, but it was also the last Brawl Pass I didn't get, so I will never get to use Gold Hand Belle. Season 6 also brought a lot of small, but lovely features, such as the ability to preview skins in the training cave before you buy them. And of course, Season 6 introduced us to my favorite 3v3 mode, Knockout. Up next, with 27 votes, we have none other than Season 17, Mystery at the Hub. This season brought us RT, probably one of my favorite chromatics to ever exist, as well as his Crimson RT skin. RT was also released pretty balanced. The only broken thing about him was the incredibly fast unload speed in his second form, but that was addressed relatively fast. Now he's one of the most fun brawlers to play and has a beautifully made set of voice lines. He's definitely one of my favorite chromatics, so he really has made me love the season. This season was close enough that I can actually see its rewards, and oh, I never got the skin. Season 17 also brought us the new Masteries system, as well as player titles, profile pictures, facepalm pins, and a lot of crazy rewards that makes it a lot more fun to grind brawlers other than pushing for high trophies or high power league rank. It also added the new battle card system, and overall it was a great update altogether. Season 17 also introduced us to Willow, another great brawler, and finally, a feature that I am very excited to use, they put the Brawl Pass in the Supercell store for you to buy to either use for yourself or donate to another player. Our next least favorite season only has 32 votes, but still, that would be Season 8, Once Upon a Brawl. Season 8 brought us Ash, as well as the Ninja Ash skin, and of course Princess Shelly. Ash arguably has the best voice lines for any chromatic, but he also has a pretty interesting trait called the Rage Bar. Besides that, there's not too much to his brawler build, but he does have one of the best tier 70 skins. Aside from that, that was surprisingly the first season since the Brawl Pass started that had rewards on every single tier, and of course in Season 8, a wild Meg made her first appearance. So overall, even with 32 votes, Once Upon a Brawl still did pretty good as a season. Up next, with just one more vote, we have Season 5, the Star Force. This season introduced the best brawler to ever exist. For whatever reason, his unload speed was scary fast on his release, but that would be fixed a short while later. But still, he is the only brawler that can make his teammates terrifyingly OP. This season didn't have too many bonus features, but it did begin the special quests that would grant you Brawl Pass progression if you complete the first 5 stages of game modes like Boss Fight. The next season had 36 votes, and that would be Season 14, Robot Factory. Season 14 brought us Sam, as well as Caesar Sam, and of course Desperado Poco. Sam was released with a pretty strong super that would later get nerfed. It also came with a broken star power that literally everyone uses, as well as a slightly annoying gadget that of course everybody also uses. Seriously, does anyone else use Pulse Repellent? And of course, outside of the Brawl Pass, Gus was released in Season 14. And of course, the season introduced us to Last Stand, which so weirdly vanished very short after. Here's where the seasons start to get a little more hated. Coming in with 43 votes, we have Season 15, Ghost Station. Better known as the Busted Buster season, this season introduced Buster as a busted chromatic, and he got nerfed pretty fast. He literally got 10 nerfs in a bit over 2 months just to get him to a bit more of a balanced state. I mean, his 6-second damage stopping super was almost identical to the 6-second damage stopping super that broke Rosa on her release, but I guess no one learned. This season gave us Trash Panda Penny and of course Chainsaw Buster. In terms of brawlers, this season gave us both Gray and Chester on the same day. Gray was obtainable by a quest where he had to deal quite a lot of damage, and Chester, well, he was the first brawler that most of us would have unlocked with credits, but he was a legendary, so it did take a lot of them. Up next, with 46 votes, we have Season 3.
Welcome to Star Pop.
This season gave us Colette, who wasn't good at first, but it did give us Trixie Colette, who was a decent skin, as well as the Poco Star skin. Outside of the Brawl Pass, Pinpacks as well as Amber were welcomed warmly into Brawl Stars, and overall the theme was in fact pretty nice. The next season had 52 votes, and that would be Holiday Getaway. This season gave us Lou as a chromatic, as well as his King Lou skin and Bellhop Mike. As for Lou, he introduced a new Brain Freeze ability where he could stun enemies after enough attacks in a short time, but overall he seemed pretty weak. Contrary to Janet, Lou has still not received a single nerf to this day. Later on in the season, Byron and Edgar would both be released into Brawl Stars. Up next, with 55 votes, we have Season 16, Candyland. This season would provide us with Mandy as the chromatic, who's just another long-range brawler, as well as the Magma Mandy skin and Gummy Bear Nita. I personally think that she was released balanced. Her super takes quite a few attacks for the first one to charge, and it's super fun to use, but usually it only one-shots the lowest HP brawlers, assuming it makes contact. And of course, this would be the first Brawl Pass with no Brawl Boxes. Our next season on the list had 60 votes, and that would be Season 9, Brawlywood. Lola was released a bit broken. Her ego was a literal duplicate of herself in terms of damage, and Supercell took care of that relatively quickly. Her tier 70 skin wasn't too much to talk about, but at least it was better than the Terminator Bull skin that didn't even get sunglasses. This season didn't have too many other talking points, but it was the first season with Club League added. Our next season only got 81 votes, and I think it deserved more, and that would be Season 11, Biodome. This season gave us Eve as its chromatic and Spiky Eve as its very lame tier 70 skin, as well as Firefly Rico, which I just prefer not to use. Eve stayed broken for a while. Her star power made her be able to spam, and I mean spam hatchlings, and it wasn't balanced for a good 4 months of her existence. But hey, in the right situation, she is a perfect counter to Mortis. This season also started the thing where tier 0 skin and tier 70 skins can be bought with gems a year after, like someone would actually want to buy Spiky Eve. The next season also got 81 votes, and that would be Season 18, The Rescue, our most recent season, that brought us Maisie as a chromatic and Jungle Queen Maisie as the tier 70 skin, but no tier 1 skin at all. From this point on, the tier 1 slot in the Brawl Pass was reserved for Bling. Maisie was honestly released a bit underwhelming, but she did receive a few necessary buffs. But still, she isn't the most fun brawler to use since her attack does start slow as heck. Anyways, at this point there is no such thing as pin packs, and that's when Supercell decided to add the brawler Hank. He was released extremely broken, and he stayed that way for a little while until he got some crazy major nerfs. Nowadays, Hank is garbage. But overall, a lame chromatic as well as a lot of features that players didn't like caused the season to go pretty wrong and get a lot of dislike from the community. With 171 votes, our second most hated season was Season 1, Terra's Bazaar. Granted, this season brought us Gale as a chromatic who was not very good at his release, as well as the Merchant Gale skin at tier 60. You heard me right, tier 60. They didn't even have the last 10 tiers for the first season. The Brawl Pass also had a mega box at tier 1 instead of a skin. Gale was released awful. His super knocked him back like a firecracker, his launch gadget sent him far, and his star power ended up looking like a max super. Both Nani and Sprout were released during the season, but that wasn't enough to prevent the season from getting a huge amount of dislike from the players. And finally, with 401 votes, a third of all voters selected this season to be the worst, we have Season 13, the Deep Sea Brawl. What exactly went wrong with this season? They added Sharktooth Colt, which I thought was an okay skin, but they also had Otis as the chromatic, who may have been one of the worst chromatics ever upon his release. Otis's concept was an okay idea, but it had a terrible delivery. In its initial stage, it was really hard to benefit off of silencing another brawler since it did 0 damage and it didn't recharge your super at all. Like, if you didn't hit them at a really close range, there was almost no point in even using your super. This was also the season that reworked Penny, and in my opinion, completely ruined her. This season also gave us the game mode Hunters, which I thought was interesting for about a day. Oh, and this was also when Siege was removed completely. Anyways, if you're here at this point, please tell me why you hated the Otis season so much. But anyways, there you have it. That's where every season stands on the most disliked seasons poll. If you stuck all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace out.